This piece that I'm going to read, I wrote this 11/29/08, and that was maybe about the fifth essay that I start writing about. Actually, to tell you the truth, the reason that I start picking up Obama was because we went to my son was a councilman in Newark, you know. He was running for re-election, and so we went, and Obama was speaking, so my wife and I ran up the stairs to meet Obama, and he's coming down, he said, oh, there's that poet. I said, damn, the man's intelligent. This was called We Are Already in the Future. So this happened right after the election. Now, I have some comments since then, since that's a year ago, and I hope to publish all these essays, which is about 12 or 13 of them, at the beginning of the year. I see Jack Hirschman, and yeah, we have had some serious dialogue about this. So this was called We Are Already in the Future. At elections denouement, to the right, the outraged self-loathing of the loser and the losers, including one dude standing mutely in Michigan, a Republican delegate in a Klan suit, describing Obama as an Islamic communist. To the left, the self-important drears who had urged us to throw our votes away. I went to several conferences where they told me, vote for this and vote for that one, as they objectively, in the name of their principles, gave votes to John McCain. Even dizzier, we supposedly hear from the left-right corkscrew terrorists, Al-Qaeda, insults that Obama is a house slave. But as I said, anyone who thinks suicide is revolutionary ain't all that bright to begin with. And as for the slave calling, best they refrain from drawing our attention to the fact that some of our ruling class always thought of black people as slaves. We are willing to be momentarily cool, though, remembering Mao's dictum, fight your enemies one by one. But back to reality. We have just won an election, we meaning the masses in the US, indeed the people of the world. I was in Italy and France and Spain and Norway during the period leading up to and through the election. In Italy, just before the election, at my readings, I urged the Italians to call the states. I told them I had gone to school with a bunch of their relatives, and so they should call them and tell them to come out and vote. In city after city in Europe, the crowds all seem to cheer for Obama's victory, and whoever seeks to downplay that victory is a fool or an enemy. We should understand the white supremacy junkies on the right. Their last pop was Old Dutch cleanser and salsa water, so they have had almost a cold turkey off that white supremacy they've been shooting up, though they're still dizzy from its fumes. But the left, or the soi-disant would-be left, are some who style themselves, what? Progressive, moderate, wheeze. Some of these, certainly the vote wasters, sound almost as pitiful. As one pitiful pundit warns us, Obama's election is to save capitalism, not bring equality to society. What a silly person. First of all, the very election of Obama has done more to bring some aspect of equality to the society than reams of pseudo-leftist posturing, which all returns in is merely to show that the writer is smarter than you are. But what dreary pundits would a McCain victory have done? And suppose your wasted vote had contributed to such, to always be on the outside, nitpicking away with not one sign of useful political practice or construction. This is too often what the left has become. I say it again, people who have never and cannot elect a dog catcher, but who are full of immense ideas about politics. Bah, humbug. No single election, my friends, will ever bring socialism, if that's what you really want. The struggle is protracted, hasn't that been said? We have yet even to convince the revolutionaries, in quotes, that they are in the United States. But Obama is not even in office yet. These pundits of pitifulness already have the whole card on what his governance cannot or will not do. This is especially irritating from those commentators who counseled us not to vote. One wonders if they think their counsel, which meant nothing, is more valuable than having that actual person with the widest mandate in history actually elected president. But to run off howling that it's not about this, it's not that, when we do not yet have a viable analysis of what it really is. Not to understand how that victory was achieved is to willfully miss a rare opportunity of learning how to master the capitalist electoral system. See, that's important. How to master the capitalist electoral system. If he did nothing else, he did that. And we on the left should be trying to understand how to harness, how to master that capitalist electoral system. One of the reasons we do not yet understand how to harness the electoral process to a revolutionary and socialist agenda is that too many of the very people who should be leading such a process denounce it or avoid it. To do what? Make statements and demonstrate? To withdraw from the most acceptable way of gaining power in the society defies understanding by any rational means, except for that hold that infantile leftism and anarchism have on too many, wishing to present themselves as revolutionary. The main focus of a revolutionary is the seizure of power. The main focus of a revolutionary is the seizure of power. Barack Obama raised hundreds of millions of dollars, much of which is a result of using the internet culture for fundraising and organizing. Let the foolish right agonize over their attempt at denigrating, quote, community organizer, unquote. They won't do that no more. Obama raised $150 million in October alone. He beat both Hillary Clinton and John McCain fundraising. Now that is amazing. That's what we should be studying, how to do that. That's what we should understand. How do you do that? You know. At one point, he wanted to buy an hour of time on CNN and lay out a complete campaign message, but CNN vetoed it. And here I thought that money was the ultimate boss. They vetoed that attempt. What the right cannot forget, nor the milksop left, is that Obama was and is smarter than both of them. That's what pisses them off. And more in tune with the popular mind, not only of the 90-some% of the Afro-American population, but obviously the great majority of Americans. What we can never forget that it was 90% of the Afro-Americans, 60 to 70% of the Asians, 67% of the Latinos, and a good group of progressive white people. That's the coalition that has to rule. That's the coalition we should be trying to put together. That's the united front we need to put together. That coalition. We can beat them people. We already showed them to people. The bottom line of Obama's campaign was his initiation at the grassroots level in his appeal. The 2004 Democratic Convention is widely seen as the opening of his campaign, and I can accept that. But even to be there to do that, a first-term senator of color from Illinois, how did he get to be a senator in the first place? Do we know? Have we studied that? I watched the biopic on CNN. What I got from it is a skill developed as a what? Community organizer. If you read his book, Dreams from My Father, that whole initiation as an Afro-American in Chicago, that's very important. Very important. I see Michael McClure sitting in the audience hiding. But to organize significant groups around their own interests, and with that, connecting them in motion around some larger issue. Obama carried his Chicago, his Illinois constituency with him, and as he made more powerful, meaningful connections like an extension cord, his total reach and power expanded. For the left, we should never speak another word about politics unless we can understand and explain to our own constituents how this black man, okay, this person of color, okay, this half-white dude became president of the United States. Because it's just such grounding, but I tell you, some sister said to me, well, the only reason he got to be president because he had a white mother. I said, but all the presidents of the United States had white mothers. Because it's just such grounding in basic, everyday, electorally oriented politics that the left denounces and eschews. To all of our detriments in the main, the left holds rallies, makes statements. Community organization is almost as foreign to them as the right. But then the right does its community organization through the media. Usually when the left talks about the people or the masses, they come out of some comic book academic manual confusing the United States, the most highly developed 21st century monopoly capitalist society, with 19th century Russia or early 20th century China. Both largely peasant societies with small but developing working classes. The U.S. is neither. The U.S. is both a debtor and predator state at the same time, with a highly developed yet debt-burdened working class who are told every day that they are the middle class. There is a middle class, a petty bourgeois, a very, very affluent sector who are the lieutenants and paid liars, the middle management who are also deeply in debt. There is also a petty bourgeoisie, the teachers, the government workers, the civil servants, the office workers, etc. Racism still internally divides these classes horizontally.
There certainly is no question that here in the United States and blacks throughout the Americas really remain ruled by the slave codes. And one of the more recent incidents that revealed this in full relief was the arrest of Henry Louis Gates, of Skip Gates. However, the great irony, of course, with that is that Skip Gates has been one of these people who has been trying to push along this idea that somehow racism is a purely social phenomenon for over 2 decades now, getting away from a systemic analysis.
Well, Skip was angry because the man mistook him for a black person.
There was a recent book by Houston Baker about the betrayal of the civil rights era by black intellectuals like Skip Gates. Could you speak to that larger phenomenon?
Skip, no, I get just to know. Skip is Skip. I mean, he's got all the money and all the. But the thing about Skip, in 2001, he invited me to speak at Harvard, 4 lectures for which we're going to pay you this, and then we're going to publish them as a book. Then when I got into that trouble with the poem of mine, you know, only people I know poetry. Only people I know where poets can go to jail for poems. That's wild, you know. So then suddenly I didn't hear from Skip about this. So I call his office, no response, he ain't in, blah, blah, blah. So then I stumble on his cell phone number. And I called him up, and he answers me, and this is literal, he answered me, he said, "Hello, buddy." And then what came to my mind is that's the same thing that Nixon used to call his wife, you know, "Hey, buddy." What should be happening in 2012?
And the government.
I think we should try to elect this man again, because I think some things are going to be possible the second term that is not possible in the first term. I think some things, if you say them in the first term, you're not going to have a second term. So my idea is that we have to elect about, see, because the thing that I think is that in 10 months we have forgot what Bush was like. We forgot that completely. We think that we are now focusing on, he's not doing this, he's not doing this, he's not doing this, he's not doing this. But 10 months ago, you didn't even have the sanity to say that. I mean, you know, we wasn't even at that level. So it's a question, I know there's a lot of things, you know, certainly I would disagree with a lot of things, but at the same time, I'm trying to look at a more strategic figure of what is possible.